Asya krito vande bhagavantau punaha punaha Ishvaro gururatmeti murti bheda vibhagini vyomavad vyapta dehaya dakshinamurtaye namaha Om Shanti 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 Sri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Tat. So we have finished the sutra number 20th yesterday, and the 20th verse, as we are discussing, that a person, as we said, that he will try to pervade, he would try to remove or expand that Shiva Drishti or Shiva consciousness, whichever word you are using, in a naive person's language. Trishu Chaturtha Tailavad Asechyam. Because we have already done it in the first chapter, that Tritiya Bhokta Vireshaha. Earlier also, that even earlier in the Sambhovapaya, how the person enjoys the benefit of the Turyavastha during his Jagrat, Swapna and Sushupti, that we have discussed. And just before that also, we mentioned how a person Kavargadeshu Maheshwaradhyaha Pashumataraha. So in order to retain our sadhana, we would be in a way trying to purify our three states. Now there is a bit of a different interpretation of this mantra, this sutra by Vadarayana. He gives a slightly different interpretation, and he takes it forward when he's mentioning about the next verse. How do you actually, you are at the state of Anavopaya, which is Bheda Prathatmaka. You have the dual thing, you have that Sariratma Buddhi, you are there. And then you are saying that in the Suddha Vidya, once you are established, you try to pull it out, you try to spread it over your Jagrata Avastha, your Swapna Avastha, and Sushupti Avastha. That is in very naive language, we can put it that way. How do you do that shinchana? How to sprinkle that pure consciousness in other states of our being? That is what we are getting there. Now, this happens, is explained in the sutra number 21st, Magnaha Swachittena Pravished. First of all, how do you, now if we look at the Kshemaraja, where, because this is our mother text for our explanation and understanding, he's saying, first thing, Bhatta Kalada Vritti, if we look at it, Magnaha Swachittena Pravished. How do you actually enter this? Some Sutrakaras explain that this is about actually Anavopaya when a student is graduating into Saktopaya. Anavopaya Bhedatmaka Sadhana. Anavopaya will also go into a little detail again, where what we had discussed in the very beginning. You remember how Anavopaya happens, right? The Anavopaya requires Uchchara, Sthula Prana, Vyapara. You do pranayama and other things. Then Karana. Okay. So you will try to stabilize your body. Dhyana, we meditate on Shaguna, Rupa, and try to have ekagrata there, and Varna, that Sukshma Prana, in your meditating in that Anahata Chakra. Sthana Kalpana includes Ghata Sthapana, Mandala Nirmana, Mandira Murti, Chitra Adi. So you do all that for this Anavopaya sadhana, because this is the preliminary stage of your sadhana. You are entering into it. However, he now, if you come here, he suddenly says that you would be able to directly enter into what? Magnaha Swachittena Pravishet. You have to immerse yourself. Single-mindedly, you have to immerse yourself in order to enter into that state of complete equanimity and complete self-absorption, that Shiva consciousness you want to enter. This is explained beautifully by the commentator. Let's go by their words. Magnaha. What is that Magnaha? Sariradi pramatritam prasamayan. Generally, what do we have? We have ahankara abhimana. I am Mr. X. I am a student of Kashmiri Saiva Darshana. I'm a student of Vedanta. I'm also a grihastha. I have a lot of responsibilities. And then I'm very well educated. All these abhimanas we have. Or I'm a sannyasi, I'm a brahmachari, all kinds of abhimanas we have. He's saying, Magnaha Sariradi. Sariradi means your manamaya kosha, pranamaya kosha, vijnanamaya kosha, annamaya kosha. We have identification with this. Therefore, we describe ourselves that I'm a fat person, I'm very attractive, I'm very young, I'm old, I'm very intelligent, I'm emotionally stressful. These are referring to different seats, different koshas. Magnaha Sariradi Pramatritam. And with each one, there is one Pramata. I was looking at one of the texts, is very interesting. The Jainas, knower, Pramata, they divide into 6 categories. The Pramata, which is Mumukshu, who is Mumukshu, wants liberation. Then there is another Pramata who wants to enjoy samsara. The Pramatas are different. Both are knowers, though both are trying to know, but knowing what? One wants to know about how to get liberated, another wants to know how to enjoy life. Therefore, Sariradi Pramatrita means different kinds of knowing personalities with which we identify Prasamayan. You have to put that down. So first we have to put down this identification, mental identification with our body, with our mind, with our emotions, right? Having done that, avikalpaka rupena, so chittena means avikalpaka rupena. There'll be a little more commentary on that. What is that so chitta? You know, in Kashmiri Saiva Darshan, which is very profound, they differentiate between chitti and chit. That chitti means that is pure consciousness, and that chitti, cha ikara, ti ikara, ta ikara, chitti, chiti, chitti, that becomes chitta. Chitta is a very lower level kind of thing. Chit is also lower kind of thing compared to the chitti. Chitti is completely formless, it's pure, there is nobody's signature, there is no agency. That is that purest, that is Siva Tattva. Ultimately, that is the Chitti. And then you have Shiva and Shakti. But Chitti is that ultimate thing. Beyond Shiva Shakti is that ultimate thing is Chitti. So, Abhikalpaka Rupena Samavishet. Samyak Avishet. You comprehensively enter. Having abandoned your identification with your body, with your intellect, with your mind, all abhimanas, all kinds of projections of who we are. What is abhimana? Abhimana is nothing other than a certain mental projection of who we are. When we do that projection, in the context of our emotions, we are identifying with some variant of our Manomaya Kosha. When Manomaya Kosha keeps appearing in different forms, we are angry, we are sad, we are happy, that's the game. All that happens at the Manomaya Kosha. So you try to first abandon Prasamayan, you have to silence them. How do you do that? Okay, we have mentioned that Bijavadhanam, we started our sadhana there. And he's saying that Prasamayan, having pacified that, Abhikalapaka Rupena, then you are relying only on that pure consciousness, which is your Swarupa. Abhikalpaka Rupena, not Vikalpaka Rupena. That means there are no thought constructs on which you are now relying. Initial stages of meditation, we do all that. We meditate on the image of Ma Kali, we meditate on the image of Lord Krishna or Shiva. We meditate on many things, and slowly we graduate up and up. Samavishet. That is how Bhattakalata gives the Britti. Now we will go, as we always go, to the last commentary, which kind of also sums up the commentary. This is Srimad Acharya Krishnananda Sagara. Siva Sutra Ranjini. Siva Sutra Bimarshini is also summarized in it. He also takes a little out of Varadaraja, but mostly he simplifies, summarizes, paraphrases what? Siva Sutra Bimarshini of Kshemaraja provides this Ananda Krishna, Acharya Krishnananda Sagara is one of these maybe latter day commentators. Very good Sanskrit commentary. He's explaining. Samprati now. Jagaradi dasasu. Jagaradi means Jagrata, Shopna, and Susupti. Adi dasasu in these states. Turiyam, Turyamrita, Rasa Sechana Upayam Pradarshayati. So you advised us in the previous sutra how to do Sechana, how to sprinkle this Turyavastha Ananda, that Shiva Tattvatmaka Akhandeka Rasa Ananda, that blissful experience that we have, how to take that out and expand it a little and also distribute it amongst our other states. It's like they always believe, no, what is the argument behind the reservation policy? If you ask anyone, why reservations, this affirmative action, they say, okay, there is a poor family, at least one brother or daughter, a son gets a job, then others will benefit. They don't know the family situations now, but at least there will be somebody from the family who is in a government job, and that becomes a soothing couch, a kind of helping hand for all of the members. Similarly, even though you do that sadhana in a meditative samadhi state, you try to take out that pure blissful experience in order to benefit you in other states, because we have other states in which we're going to engage in the external world with people in situations and all that. He's saying Samprati Jagaradadi Dasasu Turya Amrita. Turya is the fourth state, Turya Avastha. Jagra Swapna Susupti, Turya Avastha. Amrita Rasa Sechana Upayam. How to sprinkle that rasa, that nectar of that blissful realization of the samadhi in other states. The Jagrat Avastha, Swapna Avastha, Susupti, how to do it? Pradarshayati iti. Maganaha Swachittena. So you have to absorb yourself, and with the by dint of Atmana Atmanam Uddharet, you try to liberate yourself with the help of yourself. And in interpretation, we have done it differently in Bhagavad Gita. Each word Atma is mentioned in several ways. So Atma word will mean in different contexts different things. Similarly, he is saying Magnaha Swachittena. What is that Swachittena? What are the upayas in Anava Upaya? So you will do pranayama, you will do asana, you will do some mudra, you will do some mandala, the nirmana, you will do ghata stapana, you will do saptasati chandi maybe Sri Vidya, maybe you will do some Upanishad Parayana. You can't do anything. But with the help of your Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, and Manomaya Kosha, you will do Vijnanamaya Kosha less. But rest of these, you are making use of them. He's saying what? Rechaka Puraka Kumbhaka Atmaka Pranayamadikam Vikalparupam Stholopayam Parityajya. That is what you have to leave behind. That means after doing pranayama for a while, to start with, pranayama is very important. Whenever the mind is disturbed, there's a panic attack, there's a lot of stress, you go to any psychological counselor, breathing would be one of the key advices you would do. Even Buddhists, they will say you have to do samatha meditation for a while before you get into vipassana. Vipassana is a kind of a vicharatmaka observation, very subtle game. But in order to prepare, you do a bit of gymming before you go and play your badminton or cricket. Gymming is just warming up and perfecting your system so that you can play well. Similarly, you have done your gym exercises, then you are doing right thing. Now it's match practice. It's no more net practice, no more gym activities. Therefore, he's saying Rechaka Puraka Kumbhaka. Rechaka is what? Flushing out the air, carbon dioxide from your system. Puraka is inhaling. Kumbhaka is holding it. And there is Antar Kumbhaka and Bahya Kumbhaka, holding it inside and holding it out. These are all Kumbhaka state is considered to be very important, where a lot of things happen. We have already discussed that. What he is saying here, Rechaka Puraka Kumbhaka Atmaka means this sadhana, Swarupa of which includes these Rechaka Puraka Kumbhaka Adi Abhyasa, Pranayamadikam, Pranayama, then obviously you include Adi Sabda is there, maybe Asana, maybe some mantra ucharana, you include all that. Vikalpa Rupam, and these are Vikalpas because there is some mental activity happening. Sthulopayam, and I have told you meditation is Sthulopaya, is Anuvapaya, because Vichara is actually Sukshma, ultimately. Upasana is Sukshma. But this meditation, silencing the mind, doing pranayama, these are considered gross practices. These are not, yeah, compared to football, compared to physical exercises, they may appear as subtle practices, but these are not subtle practices from the standpoint of what we are discussing in the Kashmir, the Saiva Darshana. Vikalaparupam Sthulopayam Parityajya, having renounced, that means you have completed the course. Yoga Nishta Purushaha, the person who is established in the yoga, Swachittena. What is that Swachitta? It's not by dint of his own mind. No, that is what is meant. Because he is now going to practice beyond, a step beyond the mental constructions. That is being explained now. Abhikalpa Rupa, that means there is no duality, no thought construction. Abhikalpa Rupa, Antarmukha Paramarsha, completely inward. Is completely trying to have Tadatmya with the Shiva Tattva, completely within, is lost within, without name and form. Paramarsha Chamatkara Chidananda Ghana Swatma Rasena. Chidananda Ghana. All these words, so many adjectives are mentioned in order to rule out any identification with any mental formation that you are meditating on Shiva sitting on a mountain, nothing of that sort. Or Parvati in a beautiful temple, she's wearing a red sari, looking at us, smiling, divine, loving mother, none of these. These stuff is of very higher order. Chidananda Ghana Swatma Rasena Swasambida Pravesham Kuryat. With the help of that pure consciousness, you enter into your pure self. That is how you will be there ultimately in Shuddha Vidya with which you have started. And then he's explaining Tat Sambedana Rupena Tadatmya Pratipattitaha. How does that happen? So Chittena Tat Sambedana Rupena. Tat is that Paramashiva thing. Tat Sambedana, you are aware of it. Rupena Tadatmya Pratipattitaha. So how do you bring in Lord Shiva into yourself? Tadatmya. You identify so deeply, not with the body, not with the mind, not with that we are guys, we are women, we are rich, we are poor, but are, as we are discussing yesterday, will the individual get liberation? No. So who will get liberation? No one will get liberation. We are all liberated. As individuals, we are bound. As particular, as individual, we are bound. We are constrained by limitations associated with that state called the individual. There's a certain state of existence. We call that individual. When we elevate our consciousness, then we are lost in that universal consciousness. There is no one to be liberated. Why? Individual wants liberation. The individual wants liberation. The universal, there is no need for liberation because it's not constrained. It is not in the prison. Please look at it. You have a fish, it's in a net, it's fighting for freedom. Now, you snap the net in which it's caught at a particular place. There is a cage in which there's a bird, and the bird, it's a newfound bird, so it wants to regain its freedom. Now you open the doors of that cage, it flies away. Once it flies away, is it looking for liberation? No, it's already free. Now there the example is a little differentiated because the bird remains a bird. Here, once we are liberated, the we are vanishes. Only that truth of perfect liberation, that universal consciousness is free from any limitation. That is what we describe as moksha or liberation. It's free from restrictions. What are the restrictions? Name and form. Restrictions and name and form. Once these names and forms, with which we live our lives, we describe our lives, everything we relate to, everything we experience is with the help of name and form. These are all particulars. When these particulars are renounced and the consciousness elevates within into itself, and then the individuality dissolves. As I was mentioning, as Thakur Ramakrishna Paramahansa used to mention, the sawed doll goes to take a bath and measure the depth of the ocean, never comes back because it's a salt doll, it dissolves in the ocean. Similarly, when the individual consciousness, it doesn't dissolve in the real simple literal sense, it doesn't dissolve, it gains universality in a sense by being individual, by being the universal. You can say there is a drop of water, the raindrops falling onto the ocean surface. What do they become? They become the ocean. What happens to the raindrop? The raindrop has become the ocean. Once the raindrop falls into the ocean, the river, flows into the ocean. It becomes the ocean. It doesn't have any name and form. Where is Ganga in Bay of Bengal? We don't know. We are not interested either. Once Ganga is there, it becomes the ocean. Does it lose its sense? Does it exist? It exists and it doesn't have its name and form. Both are true. So he's saying, Tadatmya pratipattitaha. So there is the handle as to how we have to do is sadhana. So like Shivoham, Shivoham, Aham Brahmasmi. These are Nirguna Upasana in Vedanta. So those who are Manda Buddhis, they cannot do Vichara. So Vidyaranya Muni in the Dhyanadipa, in the Panchadasi text, explains that, okay, you have some Parokya Jnana. There is something called Brahman. There is something called Atma. Right now I'm a limited Jiva. But I am not being able to remove all my doubts. I'm not philosophically so rich. But then I continue to meditate on Omkara. I'll do Omkara Upasana. This is Brahman. So this is Apara Brahma and Parabrahma, but making this Madhyama, Omkarena, by doing Om, I'm just invoking the Lakshartha, which is Param Brahma. And he explains there is something called Sambadi Brahma. Sambadi Brahma in Vedanta is that there is, he explains the example like this. There are two thieves who are coming and they are going into a house to, steal something. And there are two dazzling things in two different rooms. In one room, there is a lamp. And the first thief thinks that's a diamond. He enters into that room and he goes near and finds it's a lamp. He's frustrated. He jumps out of the room and runs away. The other thief goes to the next room. There is something dazzling inside. He doesn't doubt it is a lamp. He enters. He says, maybe it's a diamond. The other thief has run away. He knows it's a lamp and he would have been caught. And the second thief enters into the room. And then it's not a lamp. It's actually the diamond. And that's why it was dazzling. So he gets the diamond. So what is Sambadi Brahma? Sometimes a child, you ask, what's in my hand? Your little son smiles and says, Papa, you are holding a chocolate in your hand. He's just doing guesswork. Luckily, you were carrying a chocolate for him. You give it, how did you know that I had a chocolate? He just said it. It's kind of a fluke, but it turned out to be true. So this upasana, this serious upasana, that aham brahmasmi, similarly in the Anavopaya, this serious upasana, but here it's meditative, but this is kind of comparable with Sambadi Brahma, even though it's not vicharatmaka. He's not graduated to that level where he can figure out what is Paramashiva, what is this game of. He'll go, finally, he can understand it when he goes to Sambhavapaya. Right now, not so good, but he enjoys the benefit. That is the interesting thing. He enjoys the benefit. How do I put it? It's like, in a family, there are two brothers who have got very good jobs. Okay, so they want to take everybody in the family to a dinner. And there is one family member, maybe one of their cousins, who is not doing anything. But he's part of the party, so he enjoys the dinner. And they all together have great fun. Similarly, the beginner who is doing the sadhana, even though he's not capable of doing vichara and everything, because of his own dedication and because of his own upasana, is mentioning that he gets the benefit. Tas sambedana rupena tadatmya pratipattitah iti Sri Vasugupta pada nirupita nayena, by his style of argument, prathama Swatant Swantevasinaha. Prathamam Swantevasinaha Atmanam. So first, in that particular Shwa is that pure consciousness, Chitti, Antevasinaha Atmanam Samarasya Kritya. So you have that Tadatmya, Samarasya, that complete, unison in a certain sense, complete equilibrium. Samanantam Uttirna. So you have that two states, if you have not forgotten. There is a Samana state and there is a Unmana state. Samana state, you have Atma Vyapti. You have still individual consciousness which is purified. And there is a state of equilibrium, harmony, and peace. But that is not permanent. You may slip down to the level of Jiva consciousness. And again, you will be wandering all around amidst happiness and sadness and doubts and perfections and etc. But if you make a quantum jump, then you go to Shiva Vyapti. Shiva Vyapti and Atma Vyapti, only difference, both are yogis, but the yogi who is in Shiva Vyapti, he has Atma Para Veda Bhava Nasta. It's gone from him. He is no more being able to differentiate, I am this and this is Samsara. No, he is seeing everywhere Lord Shiva. That means he has graduated into that universal consciousness. That is what is something that we should aspire for. We have already done that sutra. Therefore, he is saying, Samanantam Uttirna Kritva. So you graduate from there. Samvid Atmani Sthitihi. So Sochitte. Varadaraja also say, Magnaha Sochitte. No, he said Sochitte Pravishyate. Swachitte means Swa-Atmani. Swachittena here is a sadhanatmaka, is a upaya. There Swachitte means Adhikarana Saptami. There is saying way to enter. He explains there. Okay. Here what he is saying, Prathama Swa Antevasinaha Atmanam Samarashikritya Samanantam Uttirnam Kritva Sambid Atmani Stitim Badva Sambid Bodhatmana. By dint of that Bodhurupaka Atma, that means pure consciousness, no thoughts. Bodhatmana, that Atma which is Bodharupa, which is Jnana Swarupa, Bodhatmana, Abhikalapa Jnana Sparshena Eva, Abhikalpa Jnana. Vishaya Jnana is Vikalpatmaka Jnana, Sabikalpaka Atmaka Jnana. Vishaya Jnana, you are knowing about this samsara. They are thought constructs, there is language. Vikalpa is there. Vikalpa will include everything, your smritis and sanskaras, everything will come into play. No. Avikalpakatmena sparsena eva unumana sakti anupravesha. So he enters into that unmana stage. Unmana sakti anupravesha, entering into that. Pramukham anuttara paramashiva swarupe. Anuttara. What is anuttara? To which there is no uttara. Anuttara means that ultimate stage beyond which there is no other state. Is there a state beyond God's state? No, there is no other state. So Anuttara Shiva Swarupe Nyojaye. So you go and establish yourself there. And then he speaks a little more. What is this word Magnaha? He's saying Magnas tu. What is Magnaha? Swadeha Pranadi Pramatri Brahma Bhavam Prasamayan. So what is Magna? You should be lost in yourself. Lost in yourself means you should not be lost in your body. You should not be lost in your mind. You should not be lost in your ahankara. You should be lost in your pure self, in your Swarupa, which is Shiva Swarupa, which is Kalyana Swarupa. All of us are angels caught up in a male body or a female body, in a human body. And we have fears and anxieties. Fears and anxieties are symbolic of a restricted state of consciousness. Even happiness and sadness, these are symptomatic of restricted states of consciousness. When we return to our pure self, our Swarupa, we have no sadness and happiness. That is why we don't use the word Sukha. We use the word Ananda to explain it. Ananda, because there is no Dukkha, it's beyond all Dukkha Sukha. Then therefore he's saying what? Swadeha pranadi pramatri bhavam prashamayan chidananda rasanave. In the ocean of that pure blissful self-consciousness, self-awareness, abhikalpa bhavanaya. That means again there is no vikalpa bhavana. samavishat tathacha. And therefore, then he will mention a little vyaparam manasam tyaktva. All manasa vyapara, mental construction, renounce. Bodha rupena yojayet. How do you connect with that Paramashiva? How do you have that Tadatmya identification? Is Bodha. Bodha is awareness, pure awareness without any thoughts. It's pure thought. Yojayet. Tada Siva Tvam Abhyeti. And then he gets that Shivatva. Pasur Mukto Bhavarnavad. And that Pashu, which was till now a person here and there, and sometimes, isn't it? There are so many stories, and we have heard about it. A lot of people who have turned into great saints. In their early years, they were very normal human beings with normal emotions like rage and anger, or maybe attraction, raga, dvesha, etc. Certain gurus also believe that because Bhagavan wants to terminate your prarabdha, he will give you a lot of happy and sad experiences very quickly because he wants us to elevate to a higher level. So he might give you some pain. He has to prepare us for a higher level, higher experience. So he'll give us some huddles, some discomfort, some mental what do you call it? Some kind of what do you call? You know, we feel trouble from time to time. It's not about discomfort. It's being in a state of great stress where you are kind of torn asunder. You are pulled from all sides. That is how we get out of it. So he's saying, Sivatvam Abhyeti Pasur Mukto Bhavarnavad, Bhava Arnava, the ocean of samsara, he's liberated out of it. Why? He gets that Shiva Tattva Prapti. Ityadena Swachanda Tantre Pratipaditam Bhavati. That is what is now that Srimad Acharya Krishnananda Sagara has summarized. But there is a little interesting thing in the Kshemaraja, so we would also be doing that. What does he say? So, pranadi stula bhavam tu tyaktva shukshmam athantaram. So, first the pranadi stula bhava, you'll all this pranayama, etc. you are doing, you will leave it behind. Asana pranayama. Tyakta sukshmam athantaram. Then you have doing maybe meditation in your heart chakra, which is very subtle. Anahata thing, in the subtle thing, it's not about pranayama and mantra ucharana, everything, it's all meditation deep within. No, even that you renounce. Sukshma tu paramam spandanam lavate yataha. That spandana, what is that? That primordial pure vibration of this whole cosmos, and which is Siva Satyatmaka. You go and you experience it. That is what is hinting here. There is, when he's mentioning this, one of the commentators is saying that in Shaktopaya, there is a word called Matshodari Nyaya. Matshodari, Udara is stomach, Matsho is fish. So Matshodari Nyaya is that in the ocean, the fish is moving all around, isn't it? So there is a lot of movement. There is some kind of kampana, okay, in the consciousness. But there is no prana sansara. That means you don't become physically active. You don't have vikalpatmaka vritti. Okay. But there is some bit of a thing. So it's a very subtle state of being, this Matshodari Nyaya. And it's in Shaktopaya, where the jiva has graduated to a level where he has not been able to completely silence himself, completely renounce the movements of his consciousness. However, he is nevertheless very close to that pure thing. But he's somewhere in between, that kind of a thing. So what happens is saying, iti upakramya praviseta tattva chetasa. That is what he's mentioning. Tatra upayam aha. Okay. Then he's saying, iti si mrityujit bhattaraka. This is the name of a text. Whether the text name is Mrityujit and Bhattaraka is the author, or Mrityujit Bhattaraka is the total name given to the text along with the author, I don't know. I did a bit of search, but I didn't find. This book is not available on any of the publications I found, but I'll look for there. So Mrityujit Bhattaraka Nirupita Nitya, by his argument, Pranayama Dhyana Dharanadi Sthulapayan Paritajya. According to this book, Mrityujit Bhattaraka, he explains that this yogi at this level, Pranayama, Dhyana, Dharana, Samadhi, he leaves all that. Only Samadhi he keeps, leaves everything. Swachittina. And what is that? That we discussed that Swasambid Swa Sambedana Rupena Tadatmya Pratipattitah. That is what is mentioned. स्वचित्तेन अभिकल्पकरूपेण अंतर्मुख अंतर्विमर्श चमत्कारात्मना संवेदनेन प्रविशेत समाविशेत. That is what we explained, that he goes and establishes himself there. कृदृक्ता सन, कैसा होके वहां पहुंचेगा? मग्नः सन, he has to be completely immersed in that pure consciousness. That is explained, that magnah word, magnah swachittena pravishet. Magnah san, you have to be completely magna, and then with the help of your consciousness, that bodha rupena, you enter into that pure state. Magna means what? He's explaining sarira pranadi pramatritam. What is sarira pranadi pramatritam? Identification of the body and the mind. There's a beautiful interpretation of it by one of the Tikakaras. He's saying, you know, what is sariradi pranadi pramatrita? It's Mita Pramata. Mita means parimita, limited knower. There is a person, somebody goes to the university, and the library is full of books. Somebody is doing psychology, he reads only psychology books. Somebody is doing logic, he studies logic books. These are all limited knowers. Who is the universal knower? The universal knower is the knower of the self. So he's saying parimita pramata. Ahang rupata, that is what is the meaning of this pramatrita. Tatra eva chit chamatkara rashe. Chit chamatkara, that magic self-awareness. Rase majjanina prasamayan. So you pacify the rest of it with the benefit of this pure Shiva consciousness. Taduktam swachande. That is what is explained Swachatan Tatra, which we just right now mentioned. Vyaparam, that Manamaya Kosha, Manamayo Kosha Vyaparam Tyaktva, Manasa Vyaparam Tyaktva, all desires, Tyaktva, Bodha Rupena Yojayed, Abhikalpena. Okay, that is what Abhikalpa Sambit Sparsanena Bodha Rupena, pure consciousness. Tada Biswatvam Abhyeti Pasur Mukto Bhavarnava. Then the person is liberated. And then he quotes from verse number 38 from Vijnana Bhattaraka Vijnana Bhairava Tantra. Manasam Chetana Saktir Atma Cheti Chatushtayam Yada Priye Parikshinam Tada Tad Bhairavam Bapuhu. Lord Shiva is explaining to Ma Parvati. What is he explaining? Very beautiful. He's saying Manasam Chetana Saktihi. Manasa here would mean the mental seeds, all kinds of thoughts, desires, distractions. Chetana is here Buddhi, intellect, Vijnanamaya Kosha. Manasam Chetana, and Shakti is what? Pranamaya Kosha. Prana. So then you have Vyaparam, then Manasam Chetana Sakti. Sakti word refers to the prana. And Atma refers to what? Atma refers to the Parimita Atma, the empirical self. It refers to what? Karya Karna Sanghata, this physical seed. Then that self which is conditioned by your mind, your body, your intellect, Antakarna Vishishta Atma. That means that Jivatma, right? So these are the four. These Chatushtayam Yada Priya Parikshinam. When they lose all their significance, when they have become thin. What are these three? Again, four. Manasa, Manamaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, and Atma. All you can say Annamaya Kosha, or any way you want to explain it. So these, the empirical individual consciousness, when this has been thinned down, when we render it powerless, that means we are ready to transcend out of it. So then what happens? He's saying Shaktiracheti Chatushtayam Yada Priye Parikhinam Tada Tad Bhairavam Bapuhu. Then that fellow gets his essential nature. So far, we are identified with our mind, with our intellect, with our prana, and with the pranamaya kosha and with the annamaya kosha. When we are identified with all these four, we cannot realize our Shivahood, our Shiva Swarupata. Iti etad eva jnanagarbhe stotre. So there is another where one prayer is there to the Devi. Here same thing is being explained. Bihaya sakalaha kriya janani manasi sarvato. Bihaya sakalaha kriya. All kriyas means, you know, you remember things, you plan things, you desire things. Janani, manasi, all vikalpa, smriti, all that. Manasi kriya. Manasi sarvatah bimukta karana kriya. What is karana kriya? Karana is, you know, all these gyanendriyas, and you are doing all kinds of kriyas with all the sense activities. Karana kriya, anusruti paratantriya, ujwalam, rechaka, and, you know, puraka, and all kinds of kriyas you are doing, paratantra, which are dependent. When you sthite त्वद अनुभावतः सपति विद्यते सा परादसा नुभिर अतंद्रित असम सुखामृत shandini. So he's saying when you are able to do all that, you leave all this behind. Ultimately, the fruit of your hard work and your sadhana is mentioned in a big word. So nubihi by people, by sadhakas, atandrita asama. So it's beyond what is kind of the jada varga, all kinds of, you know, experiences that we have. Atandrita, it's full awareness. Atandrita asama sukha, incomparable, that blissful experience. Amrita Shandini. You know, there is kind of flow of this blissful nectar. It flows over you in your consciousness. Provided you are able to leave behind, you are able to renounce out of your consciousness the lower order movements, the lower order activities of the Vijnanamaya Kosha, Manamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, and the Annamaya Kosha. You just transcend all that, and you are in that pure Shiva consciousness, and you are able to establish yourself there. Then you get benefit of that Chamatkara Rasha, that Atma Jnana. Iti Anena Mahaguru Vir. Then that is how this particular Magnaha Sochittena Pravishe, that much we have done. Okay. Now, just towards the end of it, there are a couple of things I had explained to you earlier. So I just want to, as I mentioned, what is that Anava Samavesha? If you ask, what is the Samavesha? If you ask, Samavesha is what is Atma Vyapti becomes Shiva Vyapti, right? So you have Swatma Rupata and Vishwa Rupata. There is no Bheda. That is what is Samavesha, right? So you are not concentrating on yourself as an individual. You are in sadhana kala starting with concentration on the self, on the Shiva Tattva, in order to realize Shivahood, which is universal. So Anava Samavesha, you have a few paraphernalia. We have discussed that, and you can refer to the introductory lectures on that. Uchchara Karana Dhyana Varna Sthana Prakalpanehi Yo Bhavessa Samavesha Samyak Anava Uchyate. Anava Samavesha we are discussing. What are the paraphernalia? You have Uchchara, you know, this pranayama, etc. Karana, Dhyana, Varna, Sthana, Kalpana, all that. All five I just mentioned. Okay. That is what is Anava Samavesha. But here in this sutra, there is a hint about Shakta Samavesha, almost promising that if we deeply do this, we can jump into the Sambhava. And what is that Sambhava? You know, Sakto Samavesha, Uchchara Rahitam Vastu, Chetasaiva Vichintayan, Yang Samavesham Apnoti Sakta Sotra Vidiyate. That is called Sakta Samavesha, which you do not with any external activities, but purely through meditation and upasana with the help of this particular chetasa. And then ultimately, this is jnana. Okay, as first is a bit of kriya shakti, largely jnana shakti, maya mala you are removing, and finally you are that you are removing in the samhopaya. What do you do? The karma mala here and anava mala you are removing. Finally, what you are saying? Akinchit chintakasyeva guruna pratibodhataha. In Sambhovapaya, the key factor is that Ichha Sakti and Shaktipata, Guru Anugraha. So, Guruna Pratibodhataha Jayate Yaha Samaveshaha Sambhavoso Udahritaha. That is referred to as Sambhovapaya. And so, with this kind of these words come, this sutra comes to an end. Let's go to the next sutra. Because, so, how does that happens? Okay, finally he's mentioning that when you go into that particular thing, it's again to the next higher level. He's saying how that happens. Prana samachare samadarshanam. How do you have that shiva vyakti? How do you stay there? How do you have that samavesha? You mentioned about this samavesha, but how do you have that samavesha? He's saying prana samachare samadarshanam. Okay. Again, that is, you might think it's a little repetitive, but it's very different. He's saying pranasya bahihi, pranas bahihi manda manda prasarane chidananda ghana ghanatmataya eka rupam samvedanam arthat sarvasu dasasu bhavati ityartha. This is the phala of that previous sadhana which we just discussed. See, these are back and forth. First, he says that you will be in Shuddha Vidya. If you fail to win Shuddha Vidya, if you stay in Shuddha Vidya, then Janma Vinashaha. Vidya Asanghare Janma Vinashaha. If your Vidya is not disturbed, then there is no birth and death. You are liberated. And then he says, yeah, so in order to stay that, you have to do this kind of thing. You take that Shiva consciousness, sprinkle it over in your Jagrat Avastha, Sushupti Avastha, Swapna Avastha, etc. And then how do you do that? You mentioned Magnaha Sochitena Pravishet, he says. So you will stay in that Shiva Vyapti. You will stay in that Unmana stage, almost going very close to that Sambhavapaya, a very high state of meditation, right? That he is saying. Now here, one thing I mentioned, Magnaha Sochitena Pravishet, there is another alternative interpretation by Varadaraja, where he says that, okay, now it will come in the next verse. Prana samachare. So pranasya vahihi. So this is the phala, that once you are able to hold yourself in this high state, then the same thing which we discussed earlier, that Shivananda Rupa, that Atma Rupa Anubhava, you would be having in other three dasas, means Jagrat, Swapna, and Sushupti. In these states also, you will have that Ananda. First, we just discussed it, right? You will try to sprinkle Shiva consciousness in all of the states. You'll try to take God out of your puja room into your life and take that Shiva Tattva out of your meditative state into your waking state, your dream state, and your deep sleep state. And how that happens, we have already discussed this in the first chapter he mentioned. Okay, and here he's saying same thing even for the Anavopaya Adhikari who is doing, how he can also enjoy it. That is saying Pranasya Bahihi Manda Manda Prasarani. And slowly when you expand it, Chidananda Ghanatmataya Ekorupam Samvedanam. Slowly you will have a unified consciousness in all of the states. Sarvasu dasasu bhavati ityartaha. Okay, that is what he's saying. Now, so look at the Kshemaraja commentary. He's beautiful explains. Itham cha paramapada pravishtasya. That sadhaka who is already established, who has entered into that paramapada, means that Atma Rupa, Shiva Rupa. Asya vastu swabhavyat, by his own swarupa, yada punaha prasaranam bhavati. When then meditation is over, then what happens? He has to go to take a lunch. He has to go to the temple. He has to go and take a bath. He has to talk to people around him. He may be a great guru, so what? He has to talk to his devotees. Then what happens? He has to talk to others. Then he's explaining what happens. Parasphuratatmaka sakta parimala sanskritasya pranasya. In the Machodari Nyaya, I just mentioned that there is kinchit kampana in that state, but not prana sanchara. He's in that intermediate, very high, subtle level of experience. But then he wakes up. Then he's active again, right? His prana sakti is active with the help of his pranamaya kosha, vijnanamaya kosha, manamaya. He's active again. He's in samsara. That is mentioning parasphuratatmaka shakta parimala sanskritasya. With that, the pure energy of the Shakti, because of his meditation, because of his Upasana, this prana has been purified. Mark this distinction. There are two people. One knows technology, the other one doesn't know. He remains a mechanic. The other one is a super fast, super intelligent engineer. When he does something, he knows what is the design, what is the circuit, what's gone wrong. He's not doing trial and error. He knows the whole science about how the machine works. Similarly, there are two people, both are active in the external world. One's prana has been purified with this particular Sakti is mentioning. Okay? Parasphuratatmaka. And what is that Sakti? It's that illuminating energy. And that has purified his prana Shakti. Samyak iti vikasita samagra granthyatmaka antara avastambhavalat. The force of his inner, the ability to hold that inner hold, the ability to stay there, because he is doing this meditation. There are two students who study both. They finish their tasks, they go to the exam hall. One guy scores 9.5 out of 10, the other one scores 4. What is the distinction? They both prepare, they both finish that particular chapter, they get into the exam hall. One retains what he studied, the other one isn't able to retain it. That is the difference. Similarly, the particular person who has done the sadhana and he is able to hold that inner ability to hold it, with the help of that, ishada bahir manda manda chare prasarane. Ishada bahi manda manda. So he's saying that prana sam achare sama achare. Chare means prasarane. When that prana vayu, which has been purified with that sadhana, that when this person enters into his activities, means isada, bahir manda mandam, chare means prasarane, samam means chidananda ghanatmataya ekarupam darshanam samvedanam. With the help of this pure prana, when he enters into certain external activities, remember, there are two things critical. That has been explained to us earlier also. How to Siva Tattva has to be sprinkled in all the states. And he's now talking about the successful candidate who has done that sadhana. For that guy, he carries the energy of that realization, he carries it into his activities in the external, into the phenomenal reality, the Vyavahara Kala. So, Ekarupam Darshanam Samvedanam. He is able to see Lord Shiva everywhere. So, he can see the Sansara. This is the Vishwatirna. He's Vishwamaya, he's entering, but Vishwatirna at the same time. The Atma is Vishwamaya and Vishwatirna, immanent and transcendent. This kind of a sadhaka is the Vishwatirna avastha. He is in the samsara, but he is also transcending it. So that ekarupam darshanam arthad sarvadasasu asya bhavati. So he is able to retain that Shiva consciousness also during his Jagrata avastha and other avasthas. Uktam cha Srimad Ananda Bhairave. Ananda Bhairava is another text where he's saying, Utsrujya Lokikacharam Advaitam Muktidam Shrayet. Renounce everything. What? Lokikachara. So I have to do puja. This is a marriage function. I have to go. There are different kinds of lokacharas. And the Siddhas and the Abatudas, they don't go to temple, they don't do any puja, Sandhya Vandanam. No, they have gone beyond it. Laukikacharam, Advaitam Muktidam, what gives you liberation? Puja part will give you internal purification. Liberation, only Atma Jnana will give. That is Vichara. That is Sibbatattva Upalavadhi. So, you see, this is very interesting. You want to be in space. You can't jump into the sky and reach a satellite, right? You won't reach a station. You're going to fall down and die. So, this certain commentators have beautifully mentioned that you have to gradually ascend to that high level. So you'll have to do your karma yoga, you have to do upasanas, and you do the dhyana in yoga, and slowly there is a lot of purification of the self, and then you graduate. So, but it's mentioned that ultimately you have to write the research paper, then only you are called a PhD. Doing plus two, you don't get a doctorate. You have to reach that stage. You have to do some research. Similarly, some vichara has to be there. He's saying that's why utsrutya lokikacharam advaitam muktidam shrayet. You go for what gives you liberation, which is that particular samarasya. Sa samang sarva devanam tatha varna samadhike. That particular guy is no more perturbed. This is Shiva temple, this is Durga temple, this is Hanumanji's temple. For him, everything is Lord Shiva. The Devatas are Lord Shiva all. He himself is Lord Shiva, his sadhana, whosoever he sees around, everything is Lord Shiva. Because Shiva is not a name, Shiva is not a form. He's not a male bodied person sitting and doing meditation, no. He's not anything, Lord Krishna, Jagannath, or anything, no. It's beyond all that. He's saying, Samang Sarva Devanam cha Varnashrama Dike. And then this is Brahman, this is Kshatriya. Oh, no, he goes beyond all that. This is a lady, this is a man, this is a boy, this is a child, this is a grown up person. He's very intelligent. He goes beyond all these diversities and limited understanding of what the reality is. Drabyanam Samatadarshi. And he looks everything. He's a Samadarshi. He sees equal, whether it is gold or lump of clay, like they say in the Samaloshtakanchanavat, whether it is earth and is gold, you see that as same. Okay. Then he sang Samatadarshi Muktaha Sarva Bandhanaihi. This kind of a guy is liberated from all kinds of limitations. Iti Ataeva see Prativijnayam. In Prativijna Hridaya also he is saying Buddhi prana prasarepi. Even though there is expansion of your intellect and prana prasarepi, bahya desadi upadana anahita sankochanam vishwatma swarupa labha eva. So even if you have this, your buddhi and prana prasara expansion, that means you are becoming active after your samadhi datha in the Vyuthana dasa. Bahya desadi means when your consciousness is free from the limitation of space and time. Okay, space or time, it's free from this or any form. This is temple, this is a dirty road, this is a clean road. You are free from all these limitations because you are not identified with the particulars anymore. When you're there, anahita sankochanam, free from all these limitations, Vishwatma Swarupa Labha. So you have that Vishwatma. So you have completely everything. So Sariram Drishyam, Dishyam Sariram. Idam Vishwam Aham Eva. This whole sansara is me, everything is me, and I am everything, I am everywhere. That kind of a thing he is able to, iti uktam. This is Vigyan. So a little more elaboration is there, and then we will do that and further go to the next verse in our next class on Thursday. So I'll keep it there. We have completed the timeline. So any question, or we can do the Santi mantras. Any questions you have? Okay, we'll do the Santi mantras. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om Tat Sat. God bless all of you. We'll meet again on Thursday.